On the evening of December 30th, 1977, time appeared to decelerate within the corridors of the Pitkin County Courthouse in Aspen, Colorado. A winter breeze brushed against the windows, bearing the empty stillness of a town, oblivious to the impending occurrence of something historic and terrifying. Snow had started to fall across the streets outside, blanketing the world in white, as if nature itself sought to conceal what was imminent. Within the courthouse, the lighting wavered intermittently, with shadows extending along the walls in elongated, shifting patterns. It was the kind of night in which something potentially hazardous could go unnoticed, something lethal. And Ted Bundy, the charismatic law student with the smirk of a politician and the essence of a predator, had been anticipating this night. The events that unfolded over the subsequent hours would become one of the most perplexing and horrifying escapes in American criminal history. It was not merely an escape. It was a demonstration, a moment of intense psychological confrontation, orchestrated by the individual who had previously evaded suspicion, eluded capture, and manipulated nearly all who encountered him. This is the account of the night Ted Bundy evaded capture, and the observations of witnesses that continue to torment them. An inmate who did not appear as a prisoner. When the majority of individuals consider escaped convicts, they typically envision violent offenders in shackles, dressed in orange jumpsuits, under constant supervision by armed personnel. However, Bundy was not representative of the norm. He was not in the slightest proximity. He entered the Aspen courthouse dressed in a tan sweater, dress trousers, and a self-assured smile, appearing more like a young academic than an individual charged with a series of the most heinous murders the nation had ever witnessed. Individuals appreciated Ted. That was the issue. He engaged in a conversation with the officers. He maintained the doorways in an open position. He extended his compliments to the assistants. He delivered humorous remarks. He regarded them directly in the eye. He comported himself as the wrongly accused scholar, rather than the creature investigators believed him to be. And it was successful. The guardians had become increasingly complacent in his presence, perilously so. To them, Ted Bundy did not constitute a concern. He exhibited courteous behavior, highly educated, neatly groomed. And that evening, that image was destined to secure his liberation. For several weeks, Bundy had been meticulously analyzing the courthouse layout, committing to memory the locations of entrances, corridors, and windows, as well as timing the movements of each guard. He had been experiencing weight loss, intentionally missing meals, and feigning anxiety in order to prompt them to offer him breaks. He had been cultivating his charisma, employing it as a lever to enlarge the fissures surrounding him. And above all, he observed attentively. He patiently awaited. He attentively attended to all proceedings. On the night of his escape, Ted Bundy did not exit through a rear entrance. He did not engage in any altercations with anyone. He did not force open a latch. He merely employed the method he had consistently found most effective. He exploited others. An unnoticed moment. It was shortly after dusk when officers permitted Bundy to access the courthouse's second-floor law library, unaccompanied. What is their rationale? He was required to formulate his defense strategy. The irony is overwhelming. Bundy ascended the stairs, a modest stack of books held under his arm, offering a courteous bow to the deputies who scarcely acknowledged him. The room was permeated with the scent of dust, aged carpeting, and cool air seeping through the window frames. Books were arranged along the walls. A solitary officer was stationed downstairs. However, none were observing him directly. Ted was pacing back and forth. He feigned reading. He cast a brief gaze toward the window, then in the corridor, then once more at the window. He was aware of the plan. He had mentally rehearsed it, as if following a script. The window was positioned at a modest height. The descent below it was minimal, and there was no one observing. He exhaled a breath. One witness subsequently stated that they heard a barely perceptible sound, reminiscent of fingers tapping on wood. Another individual claimed to have observed a shadow shifting near the window, but dismissed it as inconsequential. And a third individual, a custodian, remembered experiencing an unusual sensation, like the air in the hallway became colder. It appears as though something has departed the room. Bundy took off his slippers. He proceeded to approach the window. He temporarily halted, and with the steady, purposeful stride of a man embracing his destiny, Ted Bundy advanced. It was merely a second, a brief instant in time, but that second altered everything. He struck the ground forcefully, resulting in an ankle sprain. Yet, he did not cease his activity. The frigid air struck his face with a forceful impact, propelling him forward. Snow nipped at his ankles. His heart pounded intensely. Nevertheless, he continued to advance. Inside, the courthouse remained silent until an individual observed the vacant chair. Then, chaos ensued. The panic and the enlightenment. The revelation of Bundy's escape was not accompanied by a shriek or a vehement exclamation. It was more nuanced, a wave of tension that propagated from one subordinate to another. A brief halt, a double stare, a slow, dawning dread. He has departed. Two words that echoed through the corridor like thunder. Deputies hurriedly assembled. Radios emitted crackling sounds. Officers hurriedly ascended staircases and traversed corridors. For a complete 30-minute period, chaos persisted throughout the building. Some suspected he was concealed within a wardrobe. Others believed he had been clandestinely transported out. A few were unwilling to accept that he could have disappeared entirely. However, beyond that, Ted Bundy was presently in the mountainous region. He was limping, shivering, and fatigued, yet he persisted without hesitation. The darkness engulfed him entirely. Snow concealed his traces. Trees concealed him as if forming a curtain. Ted Bundy was not merely evading detention, he was re-entering the world from which he had been separated, a realm filled with potential victims, eyewitnesses in the shadows. Time elapsed. The scope of the inquiry was expanded. Helicopters roared overhead in Aspen, their lights piercing the darkness. Officers searched the woodlands, calling out Bundy's name with voices increasingly tinged with apprehension. Since it was universally acknowledged that, if Ted Bundy were active in the present day, someone was at risk. However, the most unsettling aspect of that night was not the pursuit. It was the observations. Those that could not be verified, neither confirmed nor refuted. A woman returning home from her workplace declared she observed a man hobbling along the tree line, his sweater torn and his breath visible in the headlights. When she reduced her pace, the man became motionless. Then, he withdrew once more into the shadows. Police were unable to find any evidence to corroborate it, but she never forgot his gaze. A hunter observed movement near a frozen watercourse, not wildlife nor an animal, but a human silhouette crawling beneath the branches. As he drew near, it disappeared, resembling smog. A retired firefighter residing on the outskirts of town reported hearing rapping on his back door approximately at midnight. 3 gentle strokes. Then there is silence. When he gazed out the window, he observed footprints leading away. No one trusted his account until a fragmentary print matching Bundy's size was discovered near his property. However, the most disturbing account was provided by a teenage lad traveling home via a wooded shortcut. He informed the deputies that he observed a man seated on a fallen log, inhaling heavily and grasping his leg. When the youngster inquired whether he required assistance, the man responded, "No. I am merely pausing to collect my thoughts." Something in his tone caused the youth to become immobile, courteous yet tense, composed yet unsettling. When he looked back a few seconds later, the man had disappeared. Experts continue to debate whether those sightings were genuine or merely the result of hysteria. However, one thing remains certain. Bundy did not vanish without a trace. He moved with the stealth of a shadow, swift, astute, and driven by a keen desire. The Lost Hours. Bundy's wilderness ordeal. Bundy subsequently acknowledged that those initial hours constituted some of the most distressing moments of his life. His ankle was causing him a persistent ache. The cold rendered his digits numb. He descended slopes, navigated through underbrush, and traversed icy terrain. However, he remained resolute. He was liberated. And Ted Bundy considered himself to be a part of society, rather than confined within prison walls. For 2 days, he traversed the highlands. He appropriated provisions from the cottages. He concealed himself beneath the foliage. He rested intermittently, attentively listening for the sound of footfall. Search squads came within meters of him on multiple occasions. Their lights illuminated the trees as Bundy held his breath, pressing himself into the snow like a creature. He subsequently recollected hearing a dog howling in the vicinity and considering the pretender in the town below. After 2 days, Bundy re-entered Aspen, evading the officers who were actively searching for him. He unlawfully took a vehicle. He continued driving until fatigue impaired his vision. He experienced a collision. He subsequently retreated once more. Once more. Every error incurred a time penalty, yet it did not hinder his progress. Ultimately, he was apprehended, not due to the detectives outsmarting him, but because Ted Bundy exhausted his energy. He was experiencing severe hunger, chilly, slightly capable of walking. His physical condition deteriorated prior to the decline of his mental faculties. However, that was not the conclusion. This is far from being accurate, because only a few months later, in a different prison, in a different city, Ted Bundy escaped once more. And that second escape led to the tragic assassinations of innocent women in Florida, the night that continues to haunt investigators. Decades later, the officers present, those who observed Bundy's vacant chair, conducted searches through the woodlands, and experienced the chilling awareness of his escape, continue to recount that night with a sense of reverence and trepidation. They do not discuss Ted Bundy, the serial murderer. They discuss Ted Bundy, the illusionist, the individual who posed as innocuous, the individual who deceived those around him into becoming complacent, the individual who employed psychology in the same manner that other murderers utilize weapons. An investigator stated, "That evening was not merely an act of escape. It served as an instructive experience. Evil does not always force its way through the door. Occasionally it offers a smile, expresses gratitude, and proceeds to walk past you." Another remarked, "I continue to monitor the windows due to his presence. Each time I secure one, I am reminded of Bundy." A retired deputy remains unable to forget the moment he entered the law library and observed the window open. The winter air rushing in, the vacant throne. It was as if death had exited the room, he stated. And we did not even perceive it. The enduring significance of that night. The account of Ted Bundy's escape is not merely a chapter in criminal history. It serves as a caution, a reminder that peril does not always appear threatening, a reminder that monsters do not always conceal themselves in darkness. Occasionally, they conceal themselves openly, donning a smile, a sweater, and a deception. Each year, criminologists reevaluate that night. They conduct a frame-by-frame analysis of the escape. They discuss how he was able to influence numerous individuals with minimal exertion. They scrutinize the very nature of human psychology. How did an individual persuade the world that he was not what he genuinely was? Experts concur on a single point. Bundy did not escape due to his strength. He managed to escape due to the trust placed in him. And this represents the most frightening aspect of all, the enduring impact of this night on the world. Because it was not merely an escape, it was the moment Ted Bundy transformed into a specter, passing through barriers of human frailty, exploiting compassion, intellect, and hubris. He evaded capture, not through force, but through guile, not through violence, but through perseverance, not through the domination of guardians, but through the mastery of discernment. And the observations of witnesses, the brief glimpses in the woods, the man hobbling in the headlights, the shadow near the creek, will linger in their memories for the remainder of their lifetimes. Because each of those individuals possesses some unsettling knowledge. They may have been the final individual to observe Ted Bundy prior to his subsequent act of homicide. The night on which Ted Bundy escaped was not merely a lapse in security. It represented a deficiency in imaginative ability, an inability to recognize malevolence for what it genuinely is. And for several harrowing days, that malevolence remained at large, cold, wounded, famished, desperate, yet still alive, continuing to contemplate, still in the process of planning, continuing the search. The mountains concealed his secrets, the darkness concealed his form, and the world acquired a lesson it would never forget. Monsters do not require confinement. They require careful consideration, because in the absence of oversight, they tend to depart. If you desire additional somber, cinematic true crime documentaries of this nature, I appreciate the video. Subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment indicating which case you would like us to investigate next, because the shadows are rich with stories, and we are here to reveal them.